of Life's Emergency Training in the Burlington area. We are on-site and online first aid, CPR, and AED company, and our niche is industrial professionals. We specialize first aid for HR.
Awesome. Thank you. David Edwards, can I have you next?
Good morning. I've met Owen a couple of times. I'm Dave Edwards. I own DS Travel, a nonprofit organization this year. It's been a strange year. In fact, yesterday I just canceled the last little commission that I owned. So I'm broke, but that's okay because it'll come back. And when it comes back, people are going to fly like they never flew before. To coin a very, very important man's phrase, like never before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Thanks.
That's a good phrase, by the way. And you're right. You know, I hear that they're offering really great deals on cruises these days. All right, Melissa.
They're starting to cancel 2021 cruises, so don't get real excited just yet. I have one for next September that I'm not sure it's going to go.
Wow, that far in the future. It's amazing. Okay. All right, Melissa, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alyssa Raymond. I'm the Mississauga City Leader, as well as Scarborough and Brampton. I'm an online digital marketer, a marketing strategist, MLL profession. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much. Okay. Lionel, are you with us? Lionel?
In spirit.
In spirit? Okay, we'll come back to Lionel. Everyone knows David McCall. David, do you want to give your quick pitch for...
Sure. My name's, hang on, I'm going to get my video on here so you guys can see my blurry face. I don't know what's going on with my camera this morning. My name's David McCall. I run Future Evolutions Business Consulting. And I also run a small business network. I live in, I'm the city leader for Windsor, which we've just come on recently, but looking forward to it. Basically, we deal with small businesses, getting people off the ground. Everything from just the person who's just signed the papers to, you know, our average time frame for businesses is about 10 years. So that's our niche area.
Awesome. Okay, Teresa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Teresa Lutz, and I am the owner of my agency, and we're a marketing company here in Hamilton. And we do everything from the design of your business cards all the way up to your website, e-commerce website, your social media, your SEO, and anything else in between that you can think of within the marketing realm.
Beautiful, and I'm with her. Yeah, so we both operate myagency.ca, and also we are, of course, with the partners in this great city as well. Especially for Hamilton, because I'm the city leader here in Hamilton. And I just want to do some administrative stuff for this week. I know that Thursday morning Tech Talk at 8:30 a.m. with Catherine Davies. You can check out the website.
And Melissa's investing later tonight at 8:30.
That's right, tonight, 8:30, Investing 2021 with Melissa Raymond and Stephen Lee. All right. Owen, I'd like to just introduce you a little bit for those who don't know Owen. Owen is, and he'll get into it a little bit more later, but we had a nice discussion last week about what he does and his experience in the real estate market and being a real estate broker. So Owen's been doing real estate now for 30 years?
25.
25 years, that's right.
Feels like 30, but it's 25.
Feels like 30, okay. That's great. So, I mean, at 25 years, I mean, there's pretty much nothing that he would not know. So I just have a couple questions for you. I just wanted to know a little bit about you. I said, give a sense of the real estate environment for someone looking for investment properties in Windsor.
Well, as an overview, just if I could just maybe let people know who I am. I have been in the real estate market for a long time here since 1995. That's not always a bragging point because there are many realtors who are around for a long time that really don't do any business, and there's lots of people around for 10 years that do a ton of business. So it's important to make a distinction, I guess, because not everyone has the experience of you know, the different areas of, you know, real estate just because they've been around a while. So having the, I guess, advantage of owning a brokerage means that I have to know more than the average realtor. And I'm not saying I do, but I should, I have to. And at one point or another, there's, you know, we're going to hit the commercial market, we're going to hit the residential, the you know, income properties, even mobile homes. I mean, everything comes to us at different times as brokers, meaning owners of brokerages, as well as realtors, if you're around long enough. So, so I guess in that regard, yes, I do have you know, quite a bit of experience. I've owned the Coldwell Banker franchise in Windsor for 18 years almost. I've been in the business for 25, and I'm a licensed mortgage agent with Mortgage Alliance of Canada for the last 8 years. So anyone that has any questions, I can usually answer them, or at least get the answers quickly. So you know, the market in Windsor is strong. I do have some stats I'd like to share with you all as we go along. But I don't want to make it boring with just you know, statistical information, but I think that's important stuff as well as just our general discussion. So having said all that, could you repeat your question there, Ivan, please?
So the market, the environment for purchasing a house, you're saying the market is strong down there. Is that both for people that are looking to buy a home to occupy, people looking to buy homes to invest in, and then also for the rental market? So if somebody invests in a property as an investment property, is there a demand for rental property?
Well, the demand is high. The inventory is low, and I think that's true of just about every market in Canada. I had just a little stat on that. If you go, if anyone ever has an interest in looking at the actual stats across Canada, CREA, which is our Canadian Association of Realtors, does a fantastic job on their website of compiling different markets. And very quickly, I guess I'll call it quickly, after the end of a month, you can find the information on their website. So that's crea.ca, and it's, again, available to everyone. I'm just trying to open this one form on my computer as I'm chatting with you guys to talk about the winter stats. But, you know, July 2020 was a real turnaround month for our market locally and the market in general in Canada, because obviously everyone, you know, unless you're living under a rock, you understand that COVID has affected every part of our world since March. And April was the worst month in history as a drop across Canada, when it came to the real estate market, including in Windsor, of course. And I don't just want to talk about Windsor, Essex, but obviously it's what I know best. But July ended up being the best increase in stats in 40 years that the CREA has actually been compiling stats in this way. So the turnaround was dramatic between March, April, and then into July. But Canadian inventory is still at a 16-year low. So that obviously affects, you know, everyone I think understands the issue of supply and demand, economics 101. And when you have lack of inventory and lots of interest to buy, especially with low mortgage rates, you're going to have the kind of market that we have, where people are still in a position, in most markets, not all, of multiple offers and crazy numbers, crazy stories.
You know, it's funny because I would love to know the stats, if he has it, on what types of properties are selling the most right now.
Well, I know right now roughly we have, and Sean, you can probably bear with me on this one. We have over 6,000 people looking for homes in Windsor. Is that right?
To purchase?
Yeah, there's 6,000 people out there right now, just,
While they're doing that, I do have a question. What's the difference between a broker and an agent?
Ivan, I'm going to exit this one and try and come back in with the link, okay?
Okay, that's
I
great.
hope that the audio kicks in again. I'm sorry, guys. I'll be right back.
I'm not sure who asked that question, but until Owen gets back, I can answer for you. A broker runs the actual real estate brokerage. They have an entirely different license than a real estate agent. A real estate agent has the ability to sell homes, but not to run a brokerage of agents. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, can a broker do both?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. That was what I wasn't really sure because he was using both terms.
Yeah, no, and that's, you'll typically see a lot more agents typically doing the sales. Owen does actually do quite a bit, you know, boots on the ground, so to speak, work. I just saw two places, you know, 3 blocks over from me on the same block.
Ooh. Windsor's a dead zone today, is it?
I don't know what's going on.
I'm in Windsor. I'm working.
Oh, good.
Well, I'm not working, but I'm here. I'm golfing today, so I didn't like hearing all that rain stuff you guys are talking about. You want to just keep it there?
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing you're in Windsor because if my husband could see your backdrop, and he'd be there in a snippet.
Yeah.
Are you still there, Sean?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh.
Okay. No, I guess because you went quiet all of a sudden, we thought you'd died off there.
So
yeah, no,
I guess
I'm gonna think of a strategy to get Dave to become a Flames fan here.
What? What? Don't be silly. There's two kinds of fans: Leaf fans and those that want to be fans.
Well, we'll see what happens with Owen here. I hope he said he was having some issues.
But David, can we just maybe chat a little bit about the Windsor environment for business?
Sure,
I know
absolutely.
that you folks are you have business downtown. You're downtown, is it?
Myself?
Yeah, yeah.
No. I'm in the East End Riverside area.
Okay, all right. Yeah, just tell us about Windsor.
Pardon?
I'm kind of downtown.
Okay.
But I live in my basement because I don't want to associate with all those people that are sick.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's because you're old.
That's right. Old, obese, diabetic, high blood pressure. I'm like the highest risk possible. So I only go home.
Don't leave that bomb shelter. But you were saying, the business environment in Windsor is actually fairly strong. I mean, obviously we're having some issues with COVID. So let's just put COVID aside for a second. Before COVID hit the Windsor area, the small business environment is very strong. We have a lot of connections through places like the Windsor Accelerator on Howard, and through WeTech and some of the other organizations here. We have a lot of contacts in the US, which our location gives us a real advantage in that respect. For both potential sales. It's easy for businesses to collaborate because of the short distance and the fact that you have a huge access to a huge market. So in that respect, we're really good on that. We have because of our lower cost down here for real estate and everything else. There's a lot of advantages to coming down to Windsor and purchasing property for business, and which is happening quite a bit. Are we getting Owen back, or did we just shift?
I think.
Stephen.
Oh no!
Oh no, we just got Steve's coming in. Okay. Now in the real estate market, I mean, I don't want to overrun Owen's thing here, so waiting for him to come back. If he doesn't come back, we can still talk real estate because Sean is very much into the real estate market down here.
Okay.
So he can help us out a lot with that. But yes, I mean, we have the Business Accelerator, which for those who don't know, obviously, the Business Accelerator in Windsor is it's been around for about 8 or 9 years. It's a 55,000 square foot building that houses roughly 30 to 40 businesses. It rents out space to small businesses. It runs a business accelerator through the accelerator itself, of course. It works with getting financing for businesses. The Libro Credit Union has an office right in the building.
Awesome.
They have a large main area which is used for events. We held our launch there. They have an indoor cafe. They've got actually they just had a new business open up, which is a cooking and training business. They had an art gallery in there. They have a gym in there. They have actually one of the larger small theaters is in Windsor is in there. Arthur, who runs it. Oh, sorry about that.
It's a good phone ring. I love that.
It is. Arthur, who runs it, which Ivan has spoken with, is a very sharp guy. We have WeTech down here, which is a tech incubator. So they have about 135 tech businesses that run through them, and they're connected with the University of Windsor as well. So they have a lot of connections there with the up and coming young people just coming out there and with these new bright ideas. We have the Small Business Center, of course, down here, which puts on a series of classes. And then we have the Border Logistics Center, which offers a series of classes as well for small businesses. I don't know if you guys have it up there, but we here through the Small Business Center, if you take a training course, you can get $5,000 free to start up for small businesses. So look at your small business centers, talk to them, because basically all you have to do here is go through, basically it's 5 classes. You write yourself up a really nice, or hire somebody like me to do help you out with a business plan. You put it through there. They make sure it's solid. They pass it on to the board. If it's passed, they hand you $5,000 to help start you out. Oh. So, and that's not just for businesses who are just starting. If you already have a pre-existing business, you can do that as well. I think there's, the only thing is with that is you have to be fully into your business. You can't be doing it as a part-time job type of thing. You have to be 40 hours into your business every week. So they're looking for people who are full-time in their businesses. Let's see, what else do we have going on?
What about, so for entrepreneurs in Windsor, does the government of Windsor, the city, have a support? Like I know that in Brantford, they have, a business center for entrepreneurs, etc.
The small business, the city itself does not have, the municipality does not have an actual municipality-run center. That's more through Ontario government funding through the small business centers. Of course, we have the Canadian Federation of Small Business down here as well, the CFIB. That they're everywhere though. Mm-hmm. So we have a contact with them as well. I run a business network down here. We have slightly over 1,400 businesses in the network. So there's a little bit of, we have contact with a little bit of everybody. But yes, I mean, the potential down here, they're definitely trying to focus a lot on new small business, because as everybody knows, especially during COVID, small businesses is the way that the country is going to come back.
Absolutely.
It's just the reality of it.
So then let me just jump back onto real estate for a second, because I do have a question about people who have properties down there. I know that in Hamilton, Toronto, et cetera, they allow you to take your single dwelling home, single family home, and break it up and turn it into a duplex, rent out the basement, separate out, make the main floor an apartment, the upper floor as well, if you can. how does the Windsor City Council, I guess, feel about basement apartments or converting your house into a duplex?
Actually, they're really gotten on board with that lately. They're working on really loosening up some of the local laws and bylaws dealing with apartments over, like turning your basement into an apartment, putting an apartment over a garage. They're bringing down. Currently, the law states that if you want to put a second home on your property, it has to be a minimum of 430 square feet. I guess they're looking to be a little bit more flexible with that. There's already 3 or 4 projects going on in downtown Windsor where people are taking their properties and building small, tiny homes on their property. Because we have such a high rate of individuals looking for homes down here, and we are building new apartment buildings and new structures, but the amount of apartments and structures, the number of apartments that are being built is nowhere near the filling the need. I think, Sean, if you don't mind jumping in on this, I think you'll have a stronger understanding of the market than I will.
Is it inbound migration? Are people coming in from the States, for instance? No, I'm kidding. Are there people coming in from like across Canada? Is it young people that are coming to
it's mainly people coming from the Toronto and greater metropolitan areas. Wow. Where they're selling their properties for high value, and then coming down here and purchasing properties down here. You can sell your home in Toronto for, there's Owen, he's back, for $1 million and more. Come down here, pick up a decent sized house down here for $300,000 to $350,000, and still have the capital left over. So if investment is your thing, that's definitely one way to do it. You can come down here, buy 2 properties, and still have a good chunk of change left.
Well,
I'm going to step out of that topic since Owen's back.
Yeah, and just to lead into the next question for Owen, I did a search in Toronto looking for a house that you can buy, a detached home for $500,000, and there was one, and you would not put your dog in it. I mean, it was just not a safe house. So, so anyway, yes. So Owen, welcome back.
Yes, I'm sorry, guys. A lot of technical difficulties this morning. I don't know. I can't blame the weather only. It must be my computer too. But can everyone hear me now?
Yep.
Beautifully, yes.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. That's the more important part.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. I was even going to suggest that you text me any questions, but go ahead with your questions, Ivan. You were talking about a $500,000 investment. I can tell you that last week I sold a house on Victoria Avenue in Windsor, which was probably about a 2,400 square foot, 2-story, 4 bedrooms upstairs, 3 bathrooms, 1 on every floor, newly developed basement into a 2-bedroom apartment. So 2 more bedrooms in the basement and all new flooring, lots of new windows, 2-car garage on a big corner lot, 70 by 108, and that sold for $501. And that was to a Toronto buyer. That's a Toronto buyer coming into the area because his brother lives up the street. I sold another one the other day on East Puce, which is a river road. East Puce River, the Puce River leads into Lake St. Clair. It's a beautiful spot. I'm fortunate enough to live on West Puce. This house was on East Puce. And that was on a 50 by 300 lot with its own boat launch, fully renovated house, no basement, but upstairs. That had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 full baths with a massive garage. I would call it a 3-car garage, but there's like 2 different accesses to it, but a real, I don't know if I can call it a man cave anymore, but a man-woman cave, man/woman cave. And that sold for $535. And I know for a fact, not just in Toronto, but expanding outward for probably 100 kilometers, you're still paying $1.5 million for that comparable property on water.
Easily. Easily, for sure. And we were talking last week, Owen, about that one house that we really liked. My wife and I were looking at it. It listed for $399. This house was beautiful. I mean, that would be $1 million home in Toronto for sure. And it was
well, that was the one, Ivan. That's the one that went for 501.
Okay, that's a stunning home. Yeah.
Yeah, the house we chatted about went for 501, and they bought the house just over a year ago, July 2019, for 350. They fixed it up a bit. They probably put about 40,000 into it, but they obviously made a heck of a profit on it.
So
and they stayed on the same street. They bought 2 blocks up on that street.
Okay, and that goes to my next question.
They love the area.
We saw $399 listing, and it sold for $5. Are you seeing a lot of that where there are multiple offers coming in on homes?
So a lot of multiple offers. We're still getting what I would call crazy prices here. You know, people have to understand in our market, though, we are still kind of regrouping, if you will, after some bad times. I mean, if you look back in our history, hope you guys don't mind if I you know, talk a little bit about this. But what's the word in politics? It's going to be a filibuster. I'll try not to. There was between 2004 and 2005, we ended up losing because of, you know, contract problems with the big three, the automakers. We ended up losing a really big amount of jobs, income, you know, confidence. You know what I mean? Like we lost a real chunk of who we were in that period, right through 2009, where we also had the worst municipal strike in the history of our area, which went on for way too long and became way too acrimonious. And we had garbage piling up in the streets, and it was just a terrible time. And consumer confidence was damaged. So we ended up dropping our average price point during that period about 18%. We have recovered from that nicely. But I also tell people, like, we're still not just the cheapest place, one of the cheapest places in Canada to live, but it's not just about price point, it's about lifestyle. So we still have a very good lifestyle here. We've rebounded, I would say, quite a bit after losing most of our auto trade. We still have a strong Chrysler component here as well as Fords. We have no GM, but we have, you know, we've survived and thrived in many ways. And we also have the new bridge. You know, we're going to have the twin bridge to the US that's underway, and you know, who knows how long that's going to take to complete. But there's been many articles out there talking about our area becoming the next New York because of our location on the water, and of course transportation. You know, trucks are never going away, guys. I don't know if anyone agrees with that or disagrees. Trucks and trains are never going away. We're always going to need to transport goods, and whatever you can do to make your community strong and successful, you got to do. So I think that was good timing on the part of our leaders to get that bridge going.
And if you don't mind me jumping in here just for a second, but if they do ever get that that bullet train that they're talking about going between Windsor and Toronto, or Windsor and Toronto, or Windsor and Ottawa, but along the way, basically, you know, a commute from Windsor to Toronto would be 45 minutes.
Wow.
So, I mean, that would make our area even more attractive because of the lower cost, yet still have access to the greater, you know, metropolitan areas.
Yeah, David, you know, that's my commute to Toronto, and I'm in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it means that, you know, and you don't have to fight traffic.
Yeah, we're looking down the road to the future, but that's definitely one aspect that to consider, you know, when you're investing. Anyways, I'll jump out of here. That was just a comment.
Yeah, so then to just go back to the question I asked about migration, Owen. So people, are you seeing people moving in? Because I figured that during the time that you were speaking about when things shut down, there was an exodus, right?
Yeah.
People are coming in. Do you have any sort of flavor as to what the demographics are of the folks that are moving in? Are they people that used to live there that are moving back? Are they older? Are they entrepreneurs, young folks? What type?
You know what, Ivan? It's actually a really good mix of just about everything. I mentioned to you on our call that I was on the board of directors of the real estate board for a while, for 6 years, I think, up until about 2010. And we did, that was the ugly time. And we did, maybe 2012, but we did put together an initiative called retirehere.ca. I think David would know about that in the travel business too. Retirehere.ca. It's still out there as a URL, and as a group, we put together a plan to fix what we could fix about the damage to our real estate market, and that had to do with bringing retirees here. We also, incorporated the builders into that. We put together a really good plan with builders locally about putting new projects together of ranch townhomes, which has become a huge increase in available homes for retirees. 1-floor homes, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, main level laundry, you name it. They get a basement, but most of them just look at that as a place to store the junk they should never have moved out of their previous house. So they just, they don't even use their basements much of the time, right? And these things have just become gold for our market.
I don't want to oversell it, but you're telling me, I don't want to oversell Windsor, but you're telling me about the weather down there.
Yeah, you can oversell it all you want, Ivan. I'm happy to have that happen. The weather is amazing. We are actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I guess it would be the latitude. When you look at longitude and latitude, I forget my high school geography, but we're on the level of Rome, Italy. There's a spot in Point Pelee. I think David would know this too. There's a spot in Point Pelee that is actually a posted sign that says this is the same latitude, I believe it's latitude, of Rome, Italy. And we know the weather there is much better than it is in Toronto. And, even, areas like Winnipeg and the East Coast, we really do have an incredible climate. If you look at the map, we are tucked under Michigan. A lot of Michiganders have a hard time understanding that they're north of us, because they like to talk about us like we're all wearing snowshoes and have moose in our backyard. And I work with a lot of Americans because of our location, because we're Coldwell Banker and we're an international brand. So I talk to Americans all the time, and they're often stunned to realize that, geographically we're south of Michigan.
Amazing.
But that's a good trivia question. If you're in the bar having a beer, what country is due south of Detroit? And that's Canada.
Yeah.
Going the other way, we're on a parallel with Northern California.
Yeah. So going back to that climate issue, we really do have an incredible climate here. We do get severe snows and cold, but nothing like London or Toronto or Quebec.
It doesn't stay.
Sorry?
It doesn't stay.
It doesn't stay.
What's the old saying they say, Owen? If you don't like the weather, wait a minute.
That's right. Yeah, and they say that about Michigan too. But I mean, I'm a golfer. I find that our golf is incredible here, although flat. Most of it's flat. This is another difference in, you got the elevation in Hamilton, especially. I played golf in Hamilton, and it's a different game altogether. But we have, if you look at us again, we actually put together the 100-mile peninsula comment on this Retire Here initiative, because our whole county of Essex is on water. So we're a true peninsula I hate to use my hands on Zoom, but bear with me. We're tucked under Michigan as a total peninsula, right through right to the peak at the end. As Windsor becomes LaSalle, that's our I guess we'll call it our lowest point. It's not our low point locationally, but it's our low point geographically.
I have a question. How much does your recovery hinge on Detroit's recovery?
Zero. We don't have, our markets have never really mirrored each other, other than back in the days, I guess, because Detroit's also a strong auto hub. That would have meant, here's the thing, guys. Nobody's getting rich working at the auto plants. It was always a very good, strong income and benefits and everything else. But, these guys were hard work men and women, hard working people that were just happy to have, a really strong, company behind them, good benefits to raise their kids, money to buy a nice home, maybe have a little boat. Like they're not rich people, but they're definitely the people that contributed to our economy in a huge way. So when that started to get chipped away at, and when I say chipped away, I'm being generous, it really affected a lot of the confidence. I want to go back to a point that you brought up, Ivan, where there was a bit of an exodus. The struggle that a lot of people had was that, you hear the expression, at least at my age, go west, young man, like as though the West is this beautiful, place where everybody's tossing money at each other and, nobody sleeps because they're having too much fun, and a lot of people did go out there, and there was work in Calgary and Edmonton that there wasn't here. Very quickly, as we all know, if we watch any economy across the country at all, that flipped. And so a lot of people were going out there at the most expensive time to own property out west. And I'm talking everything from Alberta to, Vancouver, BC. I had clients move out to Kelowna and spend twice as much for almost the same houses they had here. And then Alberta turned on a dime, unfortunately. And I feel bad for a lot of those people in Calgary. But then they're now, not just now, but the last 3 years, they're moving back here at the most expensive time to move here. So it's the exact opposite of the advice most people have in their heads about buy low, sell high. Unfortunately, people were selling low and buying high and doing it again if they're trying to come back here. And even our rental market is quite expensive now.
Okay, so then thinking about the people that are looking to move there, let's say, what do you think would be the growing industries there? I'm thinking specifically about entrepreneurs and where they can find a niche there.
Yeah, well, Windsor is still strong when it comes to auto design, and I'm talking about engineering-wise, other design areas too, not just auto. So that's not really hurt us. Like, we have a very strong engineering background in Windsor. I'm like, earlier when I'm talking about the auto trade, I'm not just talking about the guys on the line and the girls on the line. If you know what I mean by the line, it's the the assembly line. And I worked there too. When I was in my early 20s, I worked for Fords for a year and a half. I was laid off back then every other week. This is in the early 80s, another economic downturn. And I just couldn't take the insecurity of it, and I actually quit. People were stunned that anyone would quit a factory job in Windsor, but I'm happy I did it as everything turned out. But the economic change that we're seeing has to do with not just service. Of course, we have a stat online that we have more restaurants per capita than any other town in Canada. I don't know if that's still true, but we have call centers have come into the area. I deal a lot with management at one of our big malls here, Crampsie Mall, and they've put a big office in there. We've got, we still, as I mentioned, transportation. We've become a transportation hub. A lot of people that are moving in out of the GTA are truck drivers. Truck drivers that have historically lived in areas where a lot of the product is, which is in Toronto, Kitchener, Cambridge area, because you guys know that's, those are your biggest warehouse districts, right? Etobicoke, Mississauga. And I've spent a ton of time up in the GTA. I know a lot about it, but they're moving here now because of how cheap it is to live here. And we still have a lot of larger county roads with larger properties that they can park these trucks. I know that became, I know it's a small point here, but it did become part of the issue being a truck driver in the GTA. Where do I keep my truck?
Right. Okay. So just on that point as well about business, are there any glaring challenges for a small business person, an individual setting up a business, to setting up?
I would say on the whole, not really. I mean, we have, I think every city has challenges when it comes to their rules and regulations in there, and each county has their zoning issues, and there are challenges involved in that. But for the most part, I would actually say our Windsor Council. I don't know if David would agree with this because he's involved in a lot of business networking in Windsor himself. But there's, I think they really do buy into the idea that we need to help this area to continue to grow and improve. We're never going to get the auto trade back like it was. It would be nice, but I don't see it ever happening. And I think everyone understands that we can't rely on that anymore.
Okay, so
David, you're local too, correct? I mean, David Edwards? Are you local? Yeah.
Yes, I transferred down here about, I don't know, 35 years ago, and I would never look back. It's amazing. The weather, everything about being down here is amazing.
But wouldn't you agree that you know, that Windsor has done a pretty good job of trying to keep us alive and
heck yeah. Yeah, and the opportunities, like you talked about the trucking industry, there's so much room down here for expansion, and the proximity to the border, and you know, and for my business travel, it's, you know, 40 minutes to the Detroit airport.
If I may just jump in.
3.5 hours to Toronto.
If I can just jump in here for a second. Just recently, within the last year, we've had 3 logistical companies join the network who have just moved into the Windsor, Essex area. They see the potential of what's going to be coming. You know, a couple of them we assisted in helping to find office space. But yeah, I mean, the potential for the logistical transportation you know, business is definitely strong. The city council is doing everything it can on its end to, there was a few years ago, and I'm saying more than a few, mind you, the council wasn't exactly helpful in certain areas of business. But over the last few years, you know, 5 to 10 years, they've definitely, we have a new council in Windsor, and they've definitely moved up, and look, they're much more progressive. So they're definitely helping looking to help the small business community a lot more, just in bylaw you know, areas and taxation areas. You know, one of the things that we have here, and if we can speak on this for a little bit, is the university market down here. The rentals for university students and buying properties to rent to university students in Windsor is a fairly strong market, if I'm correct.
It was very strong up until COVID. We had a crazy surge in the last 3 years of investors, and again, especially out of town investors that were, you know, I've often told people, Vancouver, Toronto, you know, Alberta, Edmonton, you know, Calgary, meaning, you know, the 2 big hubs in Alberta. There's, you know, historically been happy investors earning 1.5 to 2%. You know, return on investment, where we're looking at 7 to 8, 9%. And I would have people call me going, is that right? Is that real? Is that true? And it was absolutely true. And we had, and, you know, David knows this too, we've had expansion at both the university and the college. Actually, the university specifically opened a new medical school, and also expanded their engineering division, which was very smart at the right time. The law school is has had and is getting an even better reputation at the U of Windsor. But what's happened now, of course, is that you're seeing a lot of students no longer coming into the country, or they're not staying on site. They're going to, you know, it's this insecurity of what's going to happen when it comes to virtual learning compared to, you know, physically in the building. So that's created a bit of insecurity. Insecurity is not good for the real estate market. I think that's an obvious comment, but it's a valid one. And we are dealing with that, where you still have people that this always goes to confidence. I don't care if it's a person buying a commercial property, residential home, or an investment. They're looking at how confident are they that the money's going to come back to them, and that they're going to make this, you know, and hopefully a long-term strong investment work.
Right. Okay. And, you know, with that, and speaking about the entrepreneurs, et cetera, commercial space in Windsor, yes. Is it diverse? I mean, obviously you're talking about restaurants, et cetera, so there's obviously retail space. What about industrial space?
Tons of it. And we're seeing that the effect of COVID, again, I hate to bring that word up repeatedly, but it has had a huge impact on everyone, on all our lives, especially you know, in real estate, because it's you know, commercial real estate has become a question mark in most people's minds. Where, you know, give you an example, my own office, I had a 3,600 square foot space in Windsor that was costing me close to $6,500 a month up until just this spring. I got out of that quickly, and I got replaced by a medical office, two partners that got together on, you know, you know, combining medical offerings, and worked out perfectly. I got into a space that was a third the size, and my business has not been affected at all. Because like this, I'm in my home office right now, and like this, and I think, you know, I believe most of you are at home. People are getting so used to being at home. The fear is for business owners, am I going to open a space and it's just going to sit empty, especially offices? You know, offices, you know, for sure. Warehouse, industrial, that hasn't changed much, but the office space has definitely been affected by COVID. So I see, I'm already seeing, like, you know, just even driving down, you guys must notice it in your areas too. You drive down main roads, for lease, you know, for sale. You will see, and I think it'll continue on into the fall, more available space, more empty space. And of course, not helping that is the big news on the news networks on TV about how the bigger organizations are cutting back on their space. Retailers are closing, you know, big name retailers are closing. I do worry about what's going to happen to these big buildings when this all washes out.
That's definitely a thing, Owen, because I mean, in the network are here locally, there's 2 or 3 of the larger companies that are in the network that have, you know, they have 8 people in the office right now, and they're working just fine. Business is not diminishing at all; it's actually increasing. So they're quite happy, and they own these large buildings, and they're basically sitting there saying, "Why are we paying for this huge building, you know, when we don't need to?" And my nephew runs an architectural firm in London. He's got 30 people working for him right now. In the office, there's 4. He figures that and they just moved into a new large facility. He figures that when things settle down and he brings everybody back, he'll probably keep half the people home and run the other half out of the office and look at getting a smaller location. So I think you're going to see a really competitive pricing in the near future when it comes to leasing for office space. At least that's my take on it.
No, you're right. I agree. Yeah.
So I guess that then answers the next question, which is, you know, if there are enough people out there to make, if I'm going to invest in commercial space, are there enough people out there interested in leasing? And the answer must be, we don't know yet. I mean, we have to wait and see what happens with COVID, right?
Well, we're already, yes, that's the quick answer. Yes, we don't know, and that's where the insecurity comes from. I'm already seeing, and this is not new in other markets around the country, it's newer here, where large retailers are looking at splitting up their space into what's called commercial condos. So you can buy your internal space and own it, but you're not having to buy a standalone building. The taxes are lower, shared costs for, you know, common expenses. So it makes sense in a way. And I think that's more common in areas in the GTA, Ottawa, than it is here. We're a little bit behind when it comes to that kind of world, because again, we have relied for so long on the auto trade. We didn't need to look at those options or those alternatives. I do want to talk, if I could, just for a minute, Ivan, about the local market now compared to the olden days when my hair was brown, which is a while ago. But I have some stats here that just came out from hot off the press, that just came out for August. So it's only September 2, and I already have the stats for August. This is our local board. Korea is a little bit later than that. Like I mentioned earlier, the stats as of July 2020. One I do want to touch on for Korea, and again, that's the Canadian Association of Realtors, is that sales for June were up 150% from April alone. So from the worst month, April, to the turnaround month, which was June, across Canada, and that's not talking about specific markets, because that can be different. We're up 150%, and up 15% from June 2019 to June 2020. 15%, even with the drop due to COVID, the increase carried that and beat it again, I believe, in total. Look, now locally, there was, I would say about 7 years ago, maybe even 6, our average price point residentially was just over $175,000. And now keep in mind, again, that's just after we put this initiative in for the Retire Here. And again, opening up to, older people want a ranch, they don't want the stairs. This is why these townhomes, I see a lot of townhomes in the GTA that are these, 20 feet wide, 80 feet tall. And I think to myself, you know what, older people aren't buying those. They don't want to do the stairs, and they're not going to do those, inch an hour lifts to go up every, I'm joking about that, but you know what I'm talking about, guys. And so it was really smart, I think, on the developers' parts in this area and others to go with the ranch style townhomes. Now we're talking about 1,200 to 1,400 square feet. We're talking about inside units, 1-car garage, outside units with 2-car. Now you can't get one under 400 grand in this area. And I'm going to tell you, 5 years ago, you could get one for 200. But 5 years ago, 6, maybe 175 being our average price point. Right now, August, the average price point residential purchase in August was almost 431,000 in Windsor, Essex. And average price point to date brought that up just under 398,000. So to us, it's like, how crazy is this? But I always tell, I run my brokerage, I always tell everyone that a good realtor knows how to go with the flow and work with what you have to work with. I also use this old expression, I don't know if it's old or not, but it is that the only constant is change. Change is the only constant in our I think in our economy generally, but in real estate for sure. So you've got to be ready for what's coming.
For sale prices, what's the average overage right now in Windsor when it comes to
Well, that's a really good question, David, and there is no answer to that, because every day, my gosh, that house I told you that I'm just going to talk about a couple of my own, if you don't mind, guys, because the 535 was actually a 589 list price. So it was substantially under the asking price. And I'm not saying this against the listing agent at all. I don't believe it was his doing, but the seller was from Brantford and moved down here a couple of years ago, fixed this house up beautifully, but I think was overconfident about the value due to his experience in Brantford and the GTA, because here we could not see 589 for this particular house, and it was on the market for almost 2 months by the time I put that deal together. So obviously the buyer was happy. Anybody gets anything under asking price these days, they're happy. Whereas the one in Victoria was 100 grand over asking price. We sold a house the other day on a road called Lakewood in town, newer home, 3 years old, beautiful big, it's about 2,600 square house with the basement completely finished. That one was listed at 780, and we got it for 750 in 1 day. We didn't even give it a chance to go to multiples. We got our way in there in 1 day with a cash offer. And again, that house in Toronto, $1.5 million easy. So to answer your question, David, in a long way, there's no real pattern to that, and everybody wants that. That's where people are looking for security. Well, if they're asking 400, what do you think I could get it for? You know what it depends on? It depends on the number of offers. It depends on the research of a good realtor checking if the asking price is even reasonable, if it makes sense. We still look at comparables. We still look at assessments. We still look at a myriad of information to say this is what I believe it's worth. There's no just easy click on the pattern answer. I wish there was.
I'm going to ask another not easy question. Time-wise, is there I'm from the people I've talked to, 3 days seems to be pretty much a turnaround for a home down here. Is that about right, or?
No, it's actually a little bit short because still most of the time realtors are holding off on offers, which means we put it on the market on Monday, but we're not looking at offers until next Monday or the weekend. And there is a bit of a game going on. I don't know if it's happening in your markets where, and I don't agree with it, where realtors will say on their listing, we're holding offers until, you know, like say September 8th. But then September 4, somebody calls them directly and they want to make an offer on it immediately. And because it's a what we call a preemptive or a bully offer, it's almost always substantially higher than asking price. They'll go ahead with it and double end the deal. So they're obviously benefiting themselves, but maybe not their seller, who may have gotten even more money if it went to the regular September 8th deadline. So that's a tactic that I disagree with. And unfortunately, at this point, the Real Estate Council of Ontario is not holding these people to task. So it's no fun like that, but it's happening on a regular basis, and which frustrates the market, frustrates the buyers, and again affects the confidence of the overall real estate market.
You know, Owen, I think about, you know, couples that maybe, you know, in their early 20s or late 20s, they're getting married, they want to get a house, and the challenge for them to purchase a house in Toronto, coming up with a down payment. I mean, even with the insurance, CMHC, you know, I think that it's still a massive challenge to come up with the money to buy a house anywhere in the greater Toronto, Hamilton area. I'll tell you, you know, even Brantford, which used to be an amazing market, you know, similar to the way that Windsor is right now, you know, purchasing a house there now is kind of at par with Hamilton pretty much in a lot of areas. So, you know, what would you say to them? Because I mean, if geography is not really important, then Windsor is a great place for them to have an opportunity to buy something that's decent.
You're talking about young buyers who are just trying to come into the market. The first thing I say is, I'm sorry. This is not going to be, there's going to be very little joy for you to see what you're up against. But there is kind of a big picture approach to it that I find can be successful for, you know, myself, my office, and other realtors, and that is to understand the mortgage business as well as possible. I know Sean is on board here as an investment advisor. He deals with this all the time, I'm sure. He's one of our local guys too. If I can get you a 2% mortgage, you can afford a lot more than if I'm getting you an 8% mortgage. Seems obvious, but it really is where we live right now. I mean, I remember, you know, I'm old enough to remember when interest rates came down under 10%, and my wife and I had a party. Like, it's 9.5%. Holy, that's great. You give a person a 9.5 now, you'll give them a heart attack. So it's a different world, but this is what I meant earlier about, we have to be ready in our business to deal with what we have to deal with. Otherwise, go home and get another job, you know? So young people can still buy homes. I am finding more and more that they are soliciting the help of the parents. You know, gift letters from, you know, grandparents, aunts and uncles. I'm finding that one effect of this new market is that people are smartening up about their credit, because credit issues are far more important now to lenders than they used to be. Picture being a lender and historically getting you know, mortgage contracts anywhere from 5, 8, 10, 12%. Now you're pulling in 1.92%. You don't think that affects the, you know, revenues of these, you know, big lenders, which, by the way, are still carrying these big buildings and big branches, right? Imagine what it's like to be in that industry. I truly don't care, because I think they've all made too much money for far too long anyway. But this is the world that we are affected by, is that if they say, well, you know, I can give you the 1.9, you better have a squeaky clean client who's got, you know 20% down and has, you know, never missed a Rogers bill, or they're out, you know. That's what's happened, is that the credit market, I think Sean would agree with this too, because he's kind of in that industry, has really tightened up because of, not just because of COVID, that's actually also been an effect of that, but just because of how expensive it's become to buy a house. It's also, I should mention this too, the government has not made that any easier. The government has also put in new rules almost every quarter about how mortgages are being approved.
Now, I've got a question, Owen, but and I haven't actually, and anybody who, but flipping. I mean, does that make flipping, a passe type of thing because of the in certain areas because of the cost of the homes nowadays, or is that still a viable market?
You mean to go in and buy a house, renovate it, and flip it?
Yep.
Yes. I'll say that the profit margin has narrowed on those. Not every time. David knows that I work with a very good flipper in town, and we've done a lot of business together, and there is money to be made. Part of what's affected that, though, in a negative way, and I hope I'm not coming off as negative on all this, you guys, because there's a lot of good stuff happening, but I like to talk about the challenges because I want people to know what they're up against in any market for any purchase, commercial, investment, or residential. But there's HGTV has created a ton of flippers who shouldn't be flippers. You're putting 4 guys in a room, 28-year-old guys who've got $5,000 each, and they think they're going to get rich on a flip. And by the time they buy the property, legal costs kick in immediately, of course, your closing costs. Land transfer tax applies every time. And not as bad as even in the Toronto area where you guys have 2 levels of land transfer tax. We only have 1. You have, then you have carrying costs. You've got the utilities, you got the monthly taxes. Then you got the materials to fix it up. Then you've got the commissions if you're smart enough to put it on MLS, because if you're trying to do it privately, you're not getting your money back, you're not even making a profit. I'm not saying that just as a realtor, that's an easy stat to prove. But then you've also got the challenges of trades. How quickly, I'm going to ask all of you on the panel here, how quickly can you get a guy to come and paint your bathroom when you want it done this week? And when he says he's going to come, then he shows up, 18 days later. Am I wrong about this? Contractors can be the toughest people in the world to get to come and do their job. So when you're trying to do a flip, as you mentioned, Ivan, the basis of a flip is renovation. If you don't know how to do the stuff yourself, hiring people, that's another cost that is going to hurt you, because labor can often be far more than material costs. And then you've got the guys that just don't show up. When they don't show up, or you're not sure how to manage a project for what has to be done when, you can see where time goes by, and that creates more cost. So that chips into the profit in a big way. And then they've got legal expenses on the end where it's sold as well.
Well, not only that, we just ordered an oven. It's a specialty oven. So because it's a special order, it's going to be 3 to 4 months before it gets in. Now, if you're trying to do a little bit more of a high-end home and you're ordering specialty items, it can be 3 to 4 months before you get your appliances in. And of course, that I had one guy do work on my house. He was supposed to be a 3-week job. That's what he told me. And he was going to be working just on my property. And it was 4 months later, he was still here. We were getting ready to set a plate for Christmas for him. He would show up. He would say, "Hey, I got to go go to Home Hardware and get myself a tool," and not come back for 3 days. So yes, that can definitely be an issue when you're flipping. That's for sure. I just wanted to know.
Well, I will say you're more generous. You're more generous than I'll ever be if you're giving the guy a Christmas plate after keeping you waiting that long.
I didn't say what was in the food.
But yeah,
now,
that's true.
I got to ask a question here, because we do have somebody here. Sean, you're familiar with flipping a little bit. If he's still here,
his face is still there.
Sean, are you a smart? There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, my headset was going a little nutty. So
no problem. You've had experience
with
flipping. Do you still consider it to be a good thing in the Windsor area?
In terms of real estate investing?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, right? Like coming from Calgary, when I first moved here 3 years ago, I looked at it and I said, okay, this is how much a house is worth in Calgary, and this is what I have a couple of rental properties, so I like.
Oh, you're fading on us, Sean. Can't hear you.
Still can you hear me?
Oh, better.
Hear me?
Yeah, a little bit better. Yeah.
A little better.
I don't know how he's talking without moving his lips. I think that's a cool thing.
That's his next career.
All right, is this better?
There we go.
That's better. All right, I just disconnected my headset altogether. So, okay. So first and foremost, when I first moved here, I looked at it and I said, okay, this is how much a house sells for in Calgary. This is what it'll rent for. I looked at it on a comparative basis when I looked here and I said, okay, the rent is, you know, slightly less, but very, very similar, but the house is half the price. Okay, well, that's, you know, double your cash flow effectively. And that's from a landlord perspective. But I wasn't planning on just being a landlord here. We were moving here. I said, okay, well, personally, how are these houses looking? Geez, for 150 grand, I can get a 4-bed, 2-bath, right, with a detached double car garage, you know, 40 or 30 by, you know, 150 foot lot. Okay, that's decent. I can get that within 5 minutes of downtown. Okay, that's really decent. And now I'm literally 10 minutes from Little Caesars Arena. Okay, well, that's awesome. And so we jumped on it. Now, did I know what was going to happen continuously from Windsor? No. Had I have known that, I would have bought 10 houses. But right, you can never really see the future for sure. So in terms of right now, have things appreciated? Oh yeah.
Well, you bought your house for 153 years ago. What's the valuation on it now?
Again, I haven't had it appraised since then, but based on what things are selling in and around this area, I could probably sell it for 3 if people really get stimulated, and I do, right, a really good job, and the listing realtor does a really good job, and you know, all that sort of stuff. When we get some activity, it could go for 350. I don't know, but I'd say probably 300, fairly easily achievable.
So doubled your money in 3 years.
Yeah. You're not seeing those kind of returns anywhere else outside of, right, you happen to get lucky or you inherit a house or something like that. It's extremely rare.
Are there still homes down there for 150?
Mobile homes.
I mean, they're listed for 150. And so this is the thing, right? A lot of the times you get these houses that are listed for 150 grand and they get overbid by 80, 90,000. Now you're at 230, 240.
Right.
Well, it's not that, right, that's inherently wrong. They're just underpricing to stimulate the activity, because at the end of the day, the selling realtor's job is to get as much money as possible for their client, period. Right?
Listen, if you can get a house for under $300,000, that's a really good day.
Yeah, and there's still lots of those available, right? It happens, and right, it's.
Well, I wouldn't say there's lots of anything available, but there.
Well, again, right? We don't. They exist. They're available, but they're gone like lightning fast.
I sold them all, Sean. I sold them all.
Exactly, because you're doing your job, and I love it. But that's the thing, right? Is so I talk to a lot of, you know, young real estate focused people, and they say, yeah, I'd like to have this, 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 and this. And I'd say, okay, like, listen, I'm a straight shooter all the way. I don't BS anybody. I'm going to tell them the direct truth. As I say, listen, you're going to come into this situation. You've got a condition of financing, sure, but you're probably not going to get the deal, right? You have a home inspection condition, sure, but you're probably not going to get the deal because there's 10, 15, 20 other people that are saying, well, yeah, we'll take the house. I don't care the condition, and I'll pay for it cash.
Yeah, I mean, Ivan, we've got people calling into real estate agents like Owen from other places, sight unseen, buying properties.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, yeah, I don't know comparatively what other areas are like, whether every place is like this down here or not. Owen will have a better idea of that. But yeah, I mean, definitely the market down here is the strongest I personally have ever seen it.
So just to interrupt there, if I could, guys, I have to leave the meeting in about 9 minutes by 10. So if anyone has any specific questions, then.
So I do have one last question for you, and this is just a general question for you to answer. So anybody who's looking to reach you either to scope out a place to live or to talk to you about those amazing prices, if they're looking to invest, because it seems like there's still demand for rentals. So I know that you're with Coldwell Banker, and of course that's a well-known brand. Can you tell me a little bit about the entire scope of products or services that you folks provide?
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, a lot of people know this already, but Coldwell Banker is the first and oldest established brand in the real estate world. They were established in 1906 actually in San Francisco. It was, you know, it was built out of the fires that almost destroyed that whole area, and it was literally. I know that, you know, Coldwell Banker name. I've had people ask me if it's a bank affiliation, but it was a guy named Colbert Coldwell and Benjamin Banker that put it together, and that's how the Coldwell Banker name came to be. 94,000 realtors all over the world, in I think it's 42 countries now, and I've been part of the organization for almost 18 years. We've always made sure that we offer everything, Ivan. We don't want to pigeonhole. You know, I mean, you can sell anything. You could, if you're a person who only offers commercial, you could say you're a specialist. But what that usually says is you don't know enough about residential. So we don't pigeonhole anything that, you know, a buyer needs. So I make sure that as the broker, I've always, you know, gotten as much education as I could about all, you know, all product. So we do mostly residential, sure, but you know, commercial leasing, commercial sales, whether it's industrial, plaza, office, retail, and also that's why I got my mortgage license when I did with Mortgage Alliance of Canada, so that I could speak intelligently to how that affects our world as well. There really isn't. We have enough expertise in our office that there's nothing that we can't help you with. And I would hate to answer that. If anyone asks if we could help with this, we have to say no, we can't. We can't help you.
But not only can you find them the right property, but you could also then arrange an amazing mortgage. I know that that Mortgage Alliance is also a well-known brand, and they do great work with helping folks with their mortgages. Any last questions before we wrap up? I know that we have about 3 minutes, because it takes about a minute to hang up. So we have about 3 minutes. Any questions? Any questions? All right. So tell me something. Okay, I do have one question. Is there a must-see property that you have right now that is at a crazy price that someone from Toronto might be interested in looking at? Because we're going to have this thing edited and up today. And if anybody looks at this after we set it out, I want them to think, I have got to call this man before anybody else does. Is there anything that you have?
Well, I'm fortunate to carry a good amount of product on a regular basis, but there was one that I just listed that's getting actually a lot of Toronto calls, and I can tell by the 416 and the 647. I get them all the time, right? Yeah. And I answer my phone. That's what I do. I answer my phone. And a lot of people, you know, surprisingly will say, oh, you're actually speaking to me. This is amazing. Especially Toronto buyers. They're so used to nobody answering their telephone. It's just nuts. But this house is, it's 1035 King Louis in Lakeshore. It's a just under 1,200 square foot raised ranch. Raised ranch meaning, you know, the higher basement with the big windows, completely done up and down. The basement was just done, lower level I'll call it, not basement, it was just done 2 years ago. 4 bedrooms, 2 full baths, in-ground pool, attached garage, double drive, holds maybe, you know, 6 cars. The house is only 20 years old, and it's already had updated roof, furnace, a bunch of stuff. And that's listed at $359,888, just under $360. And we didn't underprice it, we didn't overprice it. I do expect that to go into multiples and probably see a 420 to 440 on it. But it's such a great area, great schools. I mean, I don't want to sound, you know, too much like a realtor, which I think I just did, but it's just an exceptional property at a great price. So that's one that's getting a real ton of activity.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very, very much. And I want to thank everyone for coming out today. That was great. I really appreciate the information, Owen. And
Yeah,
I have a better understanding of and David as well, and Sean. I have a better understanding of Windsor and what's available down there. So thank you all very much. And again, tonight, folks, if you missed the beginning, tonight we have Investing 2021. And with Melissa, Raymond, and Stephen Lee. All right. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, Tech Talk with Catherine Davies. Check the website for the links. Thank you guys very much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for your time.
Nice seeing you, everybody.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.